Ooh boy, I can't believe I'm actually doing this. This is my first review slash critique, which I decided to graze to my 15 subscribers today. I'm doing it on The Green Knight, which was written and directed by David Lowery, who's done a bunch of shorts in the past and more documentary type films. He's mostly known for Disney's Pete's Dragon, which I mean, coming from Disney fame to an A24 movie, good for you, man. The film stars Dev Patel and has some other big names like Joel Edgerton. First off, can I say congrats to Dev Patel? At this point, he's become one of the best actors working in the industry. Dev, if you're watching this, which I know you're not, good on you. The film is an adaptation of a poem from the 14th century called Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and is about, well, Gawain and a Green Knight. Gawain, played by Dev, becomes appointed a knight by his uncle King Arthur, and right after gets challenged by the Green Knight, played by Ralph Ineson, who, by the way, has the best and most distinguishable voice I've ever heard. Anyway, it's Christmas, and the Green Knight challenges King Arthur to a game where, if one of his knights can nick him in any way, they win his axe. However, they must travel to the Green Chapel by next Christmas to receive a return blow. And so, everyone in the room reluctant, Gawain takes up the challenge. However, the Green Knight basically gives him the win so that he can go on this journey. And so, after indulging in the fame he earns from damaging the Green Knight, he finally earns the courage to set off on his year-long journey. Before I discuss the film itself, I should bring up that A24 has this weird marketing strategy where they often showcase their more weird and abstract projects as mainstream entries in their respective genres, which I imagine is completely intentional. So, I mean, for one, people go watch the movie, and two, people get surprised when they experience something so different than they initially imagined. However, this doesn't always sit well with audiences, and I think that's exactly what happened in this case. This is a really weird movie, driven by its themes and imagery over concrete plot. A lot of people were expecting a typical, Game of Thrones fantasy epic, which is why the audience reception for this film isn't so great, even though it was critically acclaimed. When I saw this in theaters, before it started, there was a short video message from Lowry himself about how he was inspired by The Dark Crystal when making the film. And after seeing it, yeah, it's definitely that level of weird fantasy. To put it briefly, this is a very A24 movie. As for the film itself, it's easily one of the coolest movies I've seen in a long time, and is definitely the best movie I've seen this year. All of the acting is phenomenal, first of all, and this is easily Dev Patel's best performance that I've seen. The direction by Lowry is so fantastic that every shot feels purposeful, and by far the best parts of the movie are the cinematography and music. This is easily the best looking movie I've seen all year. The colors are extremely vibrant. In fact, color is used in interesting ways in the film, which I'll get back to. Cinematographer Andrew Dros Palermo absolutely knocked it out of the park, and I want to go watch the film again just for Daniel Hart's incredible score. By the way, both of these people have frequently worked with Lowry in the past, which is really cool to see. The film has a nice mix of shots that are either stills that sit for a long time and contain a lot of information, as well as more fluid motive scenes that move with the subject of the frame, akin to, say, a Kurosawa film, which is absolutely one of my favorite styles of cinematography. The film also has a very wide color palette and likes to use color to highlight certain elements of a frame, which I believe come from the fact that we're viewing the movie through Gawain's perspective. You might have, say, a monochromatic setting highlighting the absurdity of the world in which Gawain feels helpless and powerless. But that same scene also features a lady dressed in blue, which excites and gives him energy. Or in general, for example, how the color green is used to give Gawain an escape from his life. It gives him this tranquil feeling. The way color is used almost reminds me of how it's used in La La Land, where the color of every item contributes to the story being told. All in all, the film is just breathtaking in every way. As I've said, the film isn't necessarily driven by the material happenings of this whimsical world the Green Knight takes place in, but by the psychological journey that Gawain must overcome. Now, I'm not gonna claim that I understood everything that happened in the film. In fact, there are still a few plot points that I'm still trying to piece together and understand their contribution to the overall plot. But if I were to summarize what I think the film is about, then I would say it's about responsibility and loyalty and the repercussions of ignoring responsibility. Several times throughout the movie, at the beginning, middle, and end, Gawain is faced with relatively Herculean tasks that he either tries to ignore or sidestep, and so he often has to face with the retributions of his decisions. There's a very end of Evangelion scene late in the movie where, if you watch the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about, where he tests his loyalty to a girl he's not particularly sure he wants to marry when he gets back from his journey. And so these themes culminate in the end of the film, where Gawain essentially evaluates his past mistakes and how they would impact his future. One of the coolest aspects of this movie is how, although it's weird and vivid and wild, it's all these things from the perspective of Gawain as well. So in a way, he's like a vessel in which the audience can place themselves in, making him a more relatable character than you would normally find in more abstract movies. There are, however, a couple of minor criticisms I have. For one, for how stunning the art direction is, there's this recurring CGI fox that's used throughout the film that really stands out because of how CGI it looks. It's not like that's the only CGI used, but it's sort of similar to when, say, live action films decide to insert CGI animals like the dog in Call of the Wild, or if you've seen the trailer for the new Clifford movie. It's jarring because it stands out compared to the rest of the scenes. The other thing is that there's a lot of fades in the movie. Fade ins, fade outs, crossfades, to the point where it almost feels like that was the primary transition used for the movie. I think they were trying to use it to contribute to the fantasy setting and carry the perspective of how Gawain sees the world, but it felt a bit excessive to me how much they were used. The best way I can describe or pitch the movie to someone is that it's essentially the closest thing there is to a Dark Souls movie. Absurd, dark fantasy. This is true both in tone and in writing, where it feels like some of the characters are as lost as we are, but somewhere in the never-ending chasm that is this nightmarish world, there are glimpses of humanity. So, there it is. Go watch it. It's absolutely fantastic.